sometimes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Big Dance. Martino Pucci alongside Matt Lasella here in the basement of La Penta for March 4th.
March 4th.
March is finally here.
So March
MAC
Madness.
tournament started yesterday up in Albany. Me and Matt are heading out to Albany in a couple hours on our bus. But first, we are going to be talking college prospects again. This week we have Jaylen Brown and Kris Dunn as our two prospects to discuss. We're only doing 2 segments this week, so we're just going to keep it Brown and Dunn, and then we're going to go on over towards MAC tournament and prediction. We could split that up into 2 segments.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so anyways, we'll start off with Kris Dunn, nation's best point guard, aside from AJ English, resides in Providence. Came back after he probably could have been a lottery pick last year. Really bet on himself and is still better than, he is better than he was last year and projected to be a top 5 pick depending on where it falls. So my assumption is say everything goes the way it is right now and there's no changes in the top 5 of the lottery, it would be the 76ers, the Lakers, the Suns, the Nets, and then the Timberwolves. Then I think the best team to take Kris Dunn here would be Minnesota. And if I'm Minnesota, I would try and package Rubio.
Yeah.
And someone else and get Kris Dunn as my point guard because Rubio, as nice of a player as he is, they can just save some money with Rubio because his contract's expiring soon, and they just pick up a top 5 prospect in Kris Dunn, slot him into the point guard position, let LaVine develop, probably become, maybe you could even slide Wiggins over to the 3 and have LaVine play as a 2, or even
here's the thought.
Go.
That Sixers are gonna have 3 first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
You trade down?
No, you don't trade down.
You don't trade down for Dunn? With 3 other first-round picks?
Trade one of your big men plus
for
multiple
him
picks
to Minnesota or wherever he might land.
Well, what's appealing
Philly,
to Minnesota?
I think Philly.
You think Nerlens Noel and Towns would be a nice fit together on the same team? I could see that working.
Yeah.
Because Towns doesn't have to be in the post.
No, he doesn't. No, he could play outside. He can guard outside. That's a big thing too. He can guard the face-up 4s.
But then again, Nerlens would command more than that. If you gotta take,
I think Dunn would
for the fifth
be more
pick,
beneficial
for the
in
fifth
Philly.
For the 5th pick, if you're Minnesota, what would you want for that 5th pick? How much do you value that 5th pick? Do you really need a guard, or are you comfortable going forward with Rubio?
I think they're comfortable going forward with Rubio.
Or if you're going full rebuild right now, would you just rather have Kris Dunn and then try and set up, have an OKC scenario? Because it worked with OKC. Minnesota's not a free agent destination where a lot of people want to go. It's never going to be, especially with their reputation. So I think Minnesota's just got to keep the pick. And then trade Rubio and get another person. Who knows? Maybe you could even trade Rubio, your first round pick, Rubio and your first round pick next year for another guy they could have on their team. You know, like a nice solid above average player, a team that needs a point guard because it's a point guard heavy league, and they select Dunn as their point guard of the future.
Right.
But all other teams in that top 5 where a lot of people see him going. I mean, you could even drop down, say, to Pelicans. Say the Pelicans are in that kind of region, and he falls over there, and the Pelicans want to get rid of Drew Holiday, and they send Holiday somewhere. You never know. It's all hypothetical stuff. But in terms of top 4 with the Celtics, Suns, and the 76ers and the Lakers, really depending on the top 2, we know no matter what, Ingram and Simmons are going 1 and 2.
Yeah, there's pretty much no way that would change.
No way.
There would have to be some sort of, in either injury, God forbid, or some sort of academic issue, legal issue. I don't really think there's any way that's going to change that. It'd have to be one of those scenarios. I think that's just the 1-2 lock.
And that's not going to happen with
Right.
Simmons and Ingram. If there was ever anyone from Duke coming out,
It'd be Grayson if he had a problem, but
not even Grayson, but
he's
Grayson's
just
not
tripping
even.
players. It's not.
Grayson would be a late round, first round pick. Then anyways, that's if Phoenix were to think about getting Kris Dunn, then that means they really have to be all in on him and think he's that kind of guy.
Right.
Because why would they pick him when they have Bledsoe and Knight
They'd have to
on
move.
top of Booker, and they have Archie Goodwin in there
Well, I don't
too.
I don't think Phoenix goes for him. Then I think that
Phoenix has to trade one of their guards soon.
they have to.
It never made
but
sense.
I don't know if that means grabbing Dunn in the draft. I don't think that he fits there. They could go.
Our
Actually,
next
they need-
prospect, Jaylen Brown.
will be Jaylen Brown.
Why
They
why
need a
not
3.
Jaylen Brown? It's a great slasher to go with them. They kind of got rid of Moore. They
Right.
got rid of
Right,
Morris, and they got a
Morris.
first round pick for him.
Right.
Even Phoenix, say Phoenix wants to trade a couple guys, and their picks. What if they want to rebuild completely? Trade away Knight. Trade away Knight or Bledsoe. I would trade away Bledsoe. I think Knight's better than Bledsoe.
I think Knight's better also.
I would trade Bledsoe. Try and work on your big man. Maybe even Tyson Chandler. Try and send Tyson Chandler to a contender where he could be a useful big
Send
man.
Tyson Chandler and Bledsoe to Minnesota for Towns, and there's some money involved and Kris Dunn
Yeah,
somehow
$500
falls in
million.
there. Yeah, $500 million and a Bryce Harper World Series ring.
Oh, gee, where's my ring, bro? But Jaylen Brown makes a lot of sense there. But this is all hypothetical stuff because still at the end of the day, and it matters where those ping pong balls are going to drop.
Right.
The Nets are
Right.
worse. You don't know if Lopez is going to stay healthy because if Lopez is hurt, then I don't see how there is a worse team in basketball than the Nets.
No, yeah, there's not.
I don't.
There's just
if,
not.
If
And
the Lakers actually played their players, the Lakers are better than a lot of better
yeah.
than all bottom 5 teams
Absolutely.
that are there right now.
Absolutely.
Because they I mean, look at it. They played D'Angelo Russell. I don't care if it was the Nets. 38 points is 38 points against an NBA team.
Right.
It doesn't matter who it is, and I think it's always a crap argument when someone tries to say, "Oh, well, it was against the Nets, so why doesn't Steph Curry or Westbrook go off for 38 every time?"
Right.
They probably had at least 30 against them, but 38 as a rookie, the kid's still a teenager, and he put up those kind of numbers. So, I mean, I already said as much as I need to say on the Lakers with Russell, but moving forward, it's a good situation to be in if you're one of these top 5 teams right now, because these coming years,
There's
at
a lot of
premium
flexibility.
position, there's a lot of small forwards coming
Yeah,
out.
and there's
next
a
year
lot of
with-
flexibility right
with
now.
Jason Tatum, you can't really. It's hard to project what it's going to be like next year in terms of teams and how bad. You don't know what Philly's going to be having Dario Saric, and they're going to have Ben Simmons. That means Okafor's back for a year. He's a year better. I think like I said, his ceiling is going to be like a higher Al Jefferson. But then you have Joel Embiid come back too. So you don't know if anyone's going to be moving around first-round picks for
Right.
next year, because maybe the 76ers are feeling good about themselves and the value might decrease on that first-round pick, and they might trade away their first-round pick for next year right away because it might not be a top 3 pick
Right.
because of all the improvements they're making. And you can make arguments how the Nets won't be getting better unless they just offer free agents a bunch of money, but you don't know if Sean Marks is going to go that way.
Well, right.
And why would he at that point?
Of course.
So all it is now, I really do see a top 3 at this point if it stays the worst 3 teams as Phoenix, Lakers, 76ers. I see it going Simmons, Ingram, Brown right now. And Brown really does make the most sense for Phoenix unless Phoenix really wants to restart stuff and want to get a lot of value, kind of do a Phoenix reboot, because they can get a lot for Knight and Bledsoe.
But if it ends up not being Phoenix in the 3 spot, does Brown still go there? I mean, is there another team that
It's Boston. It's going to be
Boston.
Boston moving up because that's the most likely team to move up there.
Right.
Right? Say it is Boston. It's gotta be what Danny Ainge deems him to be. Is he a project? Because it could help that he's learning. Jaylen
He's a
Brown's
freshman.
learning-
He's a freshman.
Exactly. He's learning under Brad Stevens. Jay Crowder's still your starter, but you got a top 5 talent, a number 3 pick coming off the bench, and learning. James Harden was coming off the bench when he was the 3rd pick in his draft, I believe.
Yeah.
So it all depends on how you develop the guy
Right,
too, and I think
right.
Boston is really good at developing guys because
if you throw him into Phoenix right away, he's starting right away.
he's starting right away, and there's nothing wrong with starting
Nothing
right
wrong
away.
with that right away, but it's going to stunt the growth a little bit because he's not learning under anyone because he's the small forward for the Phoenix
I
Suns.
think the comparison you have to look at is an Aaron Gordon. In recent draft, where a guy who's got unbelievable athletic ability and really can drive, but has some issue shooting, way better shooter than Aaron Gordon was in college. Because Aaron, a lot of people forget, had to completely change
Yeah.
up his whole form
Right.
before the draft, and his stock went up that high in the draft because he changed up his form and they liked the direction he was going in, and he's really turning it on lately.
Yeah, he is.
Because he seems to be fueled by the loss in the slam dunk
Yeah,
competition.
it's fueling him. Absolutely.
And whatever that can fuel a player, whether it be missing an All-Star game like Damian Lillard, I think you have to take him. But I think if Jaylen Brown is there, you got to take Jaylen Brown if you're the Celtics. Now, if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, what do you do? Really quick, you go.
Timberwolves, if they have the 3 spot, I think Brown fits there too. Honestly, then you can move him. You can keep him at the 3, or you can put him at the 2, and you can flip flop him and Wiggins. Wiggins, he's gonna be your scorer, but they're similar players. But
is there enough diversity on the offense? That's the question.
Well, they probably need a shooter.
Wiggins is a slasher.
they need
Wiggins really needs to expand with the shooting.
And
Karl
Rubio
Towns is the ultimate all-around player.
Yeah, of course. But
You're
then
not
you
gonna have
look
issues
at the
there.
rest of that team, and Rubio's not shooting. It's Kevin Martin coming off the bench is shooting.
Well, he's going to be bought out.
Right. So they don't.
So
they need a
it's-
shooter. So maybe Brown isn't a good fit unless he improves it that much. But that's not going to be
Even
an
Minnesota
immediate
can
effect.
consider trading back if they need to.
Yeah.
Maybe pick up a nice role guy.
Yeah.
You never know.
They could go big. They
where
can
it
go
can go.
Ellison from Marquette.
I think he's too much of a stretch to play with.
Play with Towns.
With a team like
Ideally-
Minnesota,
all
if
right,
you're getting
do
your
they-
top 5 pick,
Buddy
the
Hield?
guy's going to be playing. No, that's a stretch. Yeah, I
They're
don't know.
gonna need a shooter.
Well, that if you trade back, sure, take Buddy
If you
Hield.
trade back, I'm saying not to take him. If they had 3.
Not
no,
with the
no,
fifth,
no,
not
no,
with
no.
the
If
fifth
you-
pick.
if you have-
Yeah.
If you have
Yeah,
5,
I
you
would
have 3.
consider
You
it.
got to
I
take
would
best
consider
available.
it, but you gotta.
But if you trade back to
it
like
all
7 or
depen-
8, it's something you think
It
about.
all depends on what you view a guy as and how good he could be, and what they
Or
can
what
get
they
in
want him-
return,
or what
and
they
what they
want
can
him to
get in
be.
return value. Say they can go I don't know if there's a good shooter on one team. I can't think of one right now, but say I don't know a Nikola Mirotic, who knows,
Right.
or something,
Yeah.
swap
Yeah.
that pick. It's
Yeah.
just not. I'm not saying Nikola Mirotic is the guy.
No,
who
but-
knows? Even a Ben McLemore, even if they want a Ben McLemore, he's got a nice stroke. I don't know how well he's shooting, but anyways, those are the options there. I think Dunn is certainly an option for Minnesota. I could totally see him going there, but in terms of the top 4 picks, I don't really see that happening unless Philly somehow gets the Lakers pick. I think they're definitely going to take Kris Dunn for sure.
Right.
I don't think there's any way they don't do it, but that's if the Lakers pick falls back. But anyways, I think either way, it's safe to say it's going to be top 6 pick for both of these guys, and they're very good prospects. Although I think Jaylen Brown has a higher ceiling, depending on who develops him and how well they develop him over time. I think Boston would be a really good fit the more and more I think about it and watch him play. But that'll do it for this segment. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about the MAC tournament in today and how Iona is going to be playing Canisius tonight at 9:30 at the Times Union Center, I believe it's called, up in Albany. Couple other predictions too. See if Monmouth can really live up to all the hype with that bench attention they've been getting all season long. Big Dance will be back in a minute.